Hello and welcome to Dinis Guarda YouTube podcast series, again powered by Open Business Council and Cities ABC. And as always, we keep a focus on portraying and as well highlighting people that I would say take us out of our small spaces and make us think bigger. And this podcast has been about profiling people that I respect or personalities that I want to know. And the first thing we do is about how we can take the best of out of these experiences and the best of people, and you can find great hope, great strategies, and as well find the best people in the industries, which is the case of almost all my guests here. We have some of the best people in the world, not some, the best people in the world. So I'm very proud of that. And actually, now that we've been coming almost for 300 interviews, we are actually getting through a lot of growth in our show. But one of the things I always do is, okay, if you have problems, how do you get into solutions? And how we solve the biggest challenge we're facing right now when it comes to technology and business, but as well with people. And I want to start today with a quote from Albert Einstein, which I think is very important for my guest of this series. Learn from yesterday, live for today, hope for tomorrow. The important thing is not to stop questioning. Albert Einstein. So I think when it comes to technology, when it comes to innovation, it's all about this capacity to never stop questioning. And today I welcome to our series Artem Kopanyev, that is the COO of Genesis, one of the largest global app developers, and is a company that has been the apps that they created have been downloaded over more than 300 million users worldwide, which is quite an achievement. And as well, they are based in Kyiv, where, as everyone knows, there's crazy and probably I think people listen to me know that I'm not very pro what is happening against this war. And I think it's quite impressive that they keep growing and doing fantastic activities under all these horrible conditions of a war that doesn't make any sense, especially bear in mind this. But this is not about the war, it's about the people. So Artem, welcome to our series. I'm very excited to have you here.
Dinis, thank you very much for inviting me and for your interest in Ukrainian startup ecosystem and in Genesis in particular. I really hope for tomorrow, as you said in your quote, and I'm ready to uncover the ideas and the potential in Ukrainian startup ecosystem together with you today on this podcast.
This episode is in partnership with Gaze Media, a platform that's tailor-made for curious minds like ours. I've been exploring this platform and it's a true gem. It's all about creating storytelling in the world of news, and it's packed with fresh perspectives and in-depth analysis. Just the kind of content that keeps us engaged and informed in his YouTube podcast series, and of course highlighting positive and great content and creative storytelling that is key for us and for anyone listening to us in this series. So let's start by the basis. So you guys, of course, are fantastic stuff, and we'll talk about Genesis in a minute, but let's start about you. So, of course, as someone that has been an Ukrainian going through all the startup ecosystem, and as well, of course, building a global company. Okay, it's not just about Ukraine. You guys have been building things on a global scale. Tell us about yourself. What made you be in the startup world, building a company in technology that has global impact, and a bit about your personal background and what a moment in your life that made you change or be who you are today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I will start from the childhood. I was born and raised in Lugansk, which is Ukraine and currently occupied by Russia. And in 2014, I transitioned to Kyiv. I was studying and graduated from Kyiv National Economical University in the field of finance, and I was thinking about pursuing career in finance. That's why I started to work in EY, former Ernst & Young, as a transaction advisory services analyst, where we were working with large deals in restructuring, nationalization, privatization of assets in Ukraine. And this shaped me as a strong work ethics person, I would say, because like the school of Big Four is about this, about work ethics and understanding the finance. Then I started to work with actually Genesis as an operations manager. Then I joined Glovo before the launch in Ukraine. It's one of the largest food delivery providers in Europe, and in Ukraine it is the market leader. In 2018, I joined Glovo and I was head of operations, overseeing the operations in one of the largest countries for Glovo. And together with the team, we got the company to the market leadership in Ukraine in food delivery, which is pretty good because Ukraine at that time had 45 million of citizens. And that's quite a lot, quite a big country. And then I went back to Genesis, actually working with people I knew earlier as a deputy chief operating officer, and then worked my way up to chief operating officer position. And I would say I'm working with a high integrity, high energy, and excellent entrepreneurship skills people. Currently, I'm overseeing the head office of Genesis, which is the infrastructure for building the businesses. I will tell that later, but Genesis is the co-founding company, and having an excellent infrastructure for building the businesses is one of our core competitive advantage and moats against our competition. And the second part of my job is actually working with the businesses. We are co-founding, helping with the strategy, with the hiring top talents, the C-level people for that companies, and assisting in overall growth of the company, observing as a board member or just having regular meetings with the people. So I would say from the first moments, I was really inspired by working with strong people on the interesting challenges, interesting problems. And in Ukraine, as you earlier mentioned, we have a lot of challenges right now, starting from war and then to other economical challenges. But we have a really great ecosystem of strong people here. And that's why it is really interesting and inspiring to work with these people on the global scale from Ukraine.
First of all, congratulations on a fantastic profile, and as well shows the dynamics that, of course, we all know when you know about people, about what they're doing. So let's start a bit by, like I said, you went through a lot of different trajectories, both working in a global company, working in a startup ecosystem, building as well, Genesis. And before we go into Genesis, tell us a bit about what it is before the war and what it is now with the war, the startup ecosystem, and especially the technology ecosystem, because you guys have a massive vibrancy. Mm-hmm. I would say from my research, I think in terms of quality of developers, Ukraine is probably top 1 to 5%. I'm not talking everything about innovation. The country has other challenges, but I'm talking software developing and technology is in the top in the world. So a bit of that experience in the context of Ukraine before and during and now as well, because you guys are still thriving even independent of all the challenges.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely that we are in the top percentile in terms of our developers' talents, and throughout all of the researches of major companies like Atomico, State of Tech, each year they're highlighting that Ukraine has a great market for hiring developers. And I would say before the war, it was growing. The industry was growing 2 digits every year, very fast. And a lot of companies were opening their development offices in Ukraine. For example, companies like Grammarly or Lyft or other big companies, they had development offices and Snapchat also, and a lot of different outsourcing companies who are in top 100 of outsourcing companies, servicing Fortune 500 companies, and so on. I would say that after the start of full-scale war in 2022, it is much harder to grow it, but we are still maintaining the same level of like overall volume in the industry. A lot of people, of course, left the country, and a lot of them were pretty high qualified. But at the same time, we are working a lot in raising the new generation of people. We as a company, for example, and other big tech companies working a lot with universities, with educational institutions, government institutions on raising the new generation of highly skilled, high energy developers, being able to build the global products and helping global companies to gain the leadership positions in their industries. So I would say it's getting much harder for outsourcing or staffing companies to get long-term contracts while their teams are in Ukraine, so they need to mitigate that risks. But for product companies, IT product companies like ours, it gives an ability to hire best talent still in Ukraine, build global products, and evolve as a bigger and bigger player in labor market in Ukraine. And for IT product companies, it's the great moment to scoop up the talent in that market and gain even better position in the labor market after the war.
So that's if I would ask a question, what do you think makes Ukrainian developers and technology sector so strong international? Is your education? Is the sense of network? Is the sense of as well, because you guys have a global corporation, like you mentioned, Grammarly, a lot of these corporations are global successful case studies. And there's a lot of case studies. I actually interviewed recently this deputy minister of culture of Ukraine. And there's a lot of case studies, both in the technology sector, but as well in the creative industries, film, music, and so forth. But let's look at the technology. You think it's the educational math? What do you think makes really the technology sector so strong and so thriving compared with even most of the countries in the world? Because some countries have much more economic capacity, but they don't have the results that you guys have.
I see you're definitely familiar with the Ukrainian market. And as you said, one of the key factors is our education. I would say the strong math school and a lot of great engineering universities like Kyiv Polytechnical University Institute. They are really bright and hold high positions in even world ranking in terms of talent that they are graduating and given to the market. So I would say strong engineering talent, not only in software engineering, but also in hardware engineering. We have a lot of vibrant companies like Ajax, for example, which is a large hardware company, bringing security, hardware, and software solutions. So I would say, first of all, it's education, and then it's disproportions in labor market in Ukraine. So it's quite hard to earn a decent salary, a decent amount of money in other industries than IT in Ukraine. So a lot of people, they are attracted by the financial perspectives of that industry, and that helps build IT product companies, because for like outsourced company, like 80% of people in that companies, they are developers. But for example, for us, it's like 30% developers and 70% it's like business people, marketing managers, analytics, and so on and so on. And it's great that the industry has a reputation of high paying. So it definitely attracts talents throughout all of the Ukraine from other industries. So it's education, it's being high paying, and I would say it's the label of country with the potential, emerging country, because like a lot of people from Europe, from America, they're coming to Ukraine, they're trying to set up offices, and this is like a vicious effect. So it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. They are referring to other people that Ukrainian tech talent is great, and they are pouring even more and more money into the development offices, into working with outsourced companies, and that momentum is also helping a lot to grow that industry.
Thank you. A great way to learn more about this. And of course, you have as well quite a lot of insights, being as well a lecturer at Kyiv School of Economics. So tell us about Genesis, which is partly the focus of this interview, but I would like to understand as well. How did it start for people that never heard about it, what it is, and how it works?
Yeah, it started in 2011 by the co-founders Vladimir Mnoголетний and Vasily Ulyanov. It was first of all the idea of internet businesses, and they are growing in emerging countries. So they thought they can also build an internet company. And the first project was Connect UA, which is a social network. Fast forward, after several iterations and building other businesses, Genesis became the player in emerging markets, like Africa, where we have largest classified named Gigi, largest media in Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda. We had also largest media in Kazakhstan. Central was one of the biggest countries in Central Asia, and then it started. We started the new projects in fields of mobile applications and web applications, in the fields of business utilities, health and fitness, book summaries, brain teasers, and so on and so on. And we started to have more and more businesses, and we understood that we are not only the IT product company, we are a co-founding company, which is actually working with the best entrepreneurs throughout all of the Ukraine, given the necessary infrastructure and experience to build global businesses. And right now, we are one of the biggest IT product companies in Ukraine. We have more than 3,000 people. We are one of the largest app developers in the world, as you said, with more than 300 million downloads of our applications. We are leaders in several niches. We have overall more than 25 businesses in different industries. Also, we have a venture fund, which is part of our ecosystem, Flyer One Ventures, with more than 80 investments. And overall, we are striving to be a global player, building businesses from Ukraine, supported by biggest technical companies like Meta, Apple, who are our partners, and we are one of the biggest partners in the region, and it helps a lot also. And we are one of the best and I would say given the most opportunities for people, employer in the country.
Wow, congratulations. 3,000 people is quite an impressive, and as well we build an entire ecosystem that consists of a lot of successful ventures, networks, and so forth. So let's look at a bit of your achievements. So at the moment, one of the things that probably is more astonishing is that you create with Meta the first startup academy to connect startup-minded entrepreneurs from 7 countries. So can you tell us about that? Because that is a massive achievement, and congratulations for that. But I'm interested, and I think sharing this with our audience, because I'm sure that a lot of people in the world will be interested on this.
Yes, thanks. It's the projects that we are admiring, and we are really proud that we have executed it. Even before the program, we were a big partner of Meta. We are using their services actually to in our performance marketing strategies. We are one of the big partners of them in our region, in Central and Eastern Europe. And we had an idea that we are working a lot with their tools for performance marketing, and we understand them pretty well. And a lot of companies in Ukraine, they are also interested in learning our experience and our expertise. And we decided to launch the first version of Startup Academy was just for Ukraine. We gathered more than 1,000 applications, and we have chosen 30 companies from them with the highest potential. And we were providing them a series of lecture and mentorship from us and from our partner Meta and their employees. And it had a huge success because a lot of companies were growing a lot after our lectures, after our mentorship. Some companies received investment rounds from $100,000 to $1 million from different funds. They were getting credits from our partners. They were getting like the mentorship sessions from us, and they were overall really satisfied with that program. So we decided to expand it in second and third iteration, and we have made it CE wide, Central and Eastern Europe. But overall, we had applications from 60 countries, so a lot of companies outside our scope, they were also really interested. And talking about, for example, third Startup Academy, which has ended a couple months ago, it was more than 2,000 applications, 50 participants in final. It was a lot of more than 10 partners, Meta, AWS, Amazon with their credits and amazing program for startups, Horizon Capital, which is the biggest private equity, one of the biggest private equity companies in Central and Eastern Europe. And actually, after our Startup Academy, which was the set of lectures, a set of mentorship programs, and several, I would say, as group assignments for companies, we have held a pitch day for 20 startups. And for 20 startups, we had more than 40 investment funds participating in that pitch day. So for every one company, we had two funds that were interested. And actually, after that pitch day, our partners and us, we were really satisfied in developing that program. There were several investment rounds, and overall, our participants used the credits that they got from the partners, discounts, and we received the feedback that it helped them a lot in establishing their business, understanding better the levers for growth, which are performance marketing, brand marketing. Actually, from my point of view, one of the biggest levers for growth, hiring and retaining top talent. I would say it's a successful project for us, and one of the best tools, first of all, to understand the startup ecosystem of Central and Eastern Europe, and for our partners to get a sense of what could be the next generation of the users, the customers for their service.
Congratulations! It's really excellent numbers on a global scale, and as well a track record of achievement superior to some countries. Let us put it that way. So well done.
Thank you.
And I think it's a great case study, which I will put the links to the case studies and links to this part. So if I would ask you like 3 things, or maximum 5 things that you took from this experience of building this startup ecosystem, and I'm sure this creates business, but I think it's one thing that I always believe that when you create value, you create more business and you create more relationships. Definitely. But of course, as a company building technology, it's not easy to build a technology, keep all these people, and at the same time create something that is a collaborative effort. So what would be like the, let's say, 3 to 5 things that you would recommend for people listening to us and startups that want to be part of this ecosystem that you learn that you like to share with your audience? Because I think this is one of the challenges with business, especially with the inception of AI, is that people strive to understand how to work collaboratively. And normally we always look at the problems, not so much at the solutions. So it'd be interesting to see some of your case studies.
I would say that one of the most important part, and I would say also your podcasts in some way also establishes and helps with this, is the knowledge of how to use the tools. And in that sense, I'm talking about, first of all, the tools of big companies. For example, how to use AWS for setting up the backend and the development operations, how to use Meta for performance growth, how to use Google for performance marketing, and so on and so on. So these big companies, they're not big. They're really big because they're getting and they're given a lot of value, and they're creating the great instruments for the growth of the companies. So if you want to build a great company, you need to learn how these companies are built and what tools they are providing. Second, I would say it's talking with investment funds and investment vehicles. And in that sense, the entrepreneur can understand what are their interests, what are the companies that they are invested in, what they are looking for, and how to be successful in their eyes. Third important point is actually networking with the fellow entrepreneurs, with the peers who have already done something that you want to do and you want to achieve. And it's easier said than done, because the question arises, where can I find these people? But I would say with enough proactivity, everyone can find the community where they can thrive. A lot of conferences, a lot of different educational events where entrepreneurs network. And I think that being in some sort of ecosystem or community, it's very important for startups to solve their challenges, because for every challenge that startup faces, there are a lot of companies that already overcame that challenge. And if you have success to that companies, it's not necessarily the big giant companies, it's just the companies one step forward of you, maybe like 2x or 5x bigger than you, but they already solved that challenge and their experience will be quite valuable. On the other hand, I would say looking at the processes of enormous companies and employing them to early stage startup will not be the good decision, because they have another level of resources, another level of businesses. For example, there are a lot of giant companies that are not even interested in building a business for $100 million per year, because it's not their scale, it's not of their interest. And for some entrepreneurs, there will be a great entity to build and a great problem to work on. So I would say definitely networking with the people who are one step forward of you, it's very, very important to understand what should be the next steps. Not the ideal steps, but next steps. Because entrepreneurs, they are facing a lot of problems, and only the experience, advices could help work on that problems. So I would say these 3 points. Work with the big companies to understand what tools they're providing, understand what venture funds and overall investors in the market want to find and want to invest in, and network with the fellow entrepreneurs a little bit later stage than your company.
Fantastic insights, and I hope people listening to us can learn about this, because I think, like you said, that is a challenge I've been facing both as an entrepreneur, but speaking with a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of startup personalities, and as well, one of the big challenges when it comes to education of technology and education of business in general, because most of the business have no kind of understanding. Even if you do an MBA, and I've been teaching in MBAs and masters, there's very few practical level on this. Of course, with some exceptions that are key for this. So let's look now in terms of the case studies of. I would like to touch a couple of apps that you build that you would like to highlight, and as well, let's look at a big elephant in the room, because a lot of people are always obsessed about geopolitics, AI, open source models, open APIs. I'm using a lot of jargon, but my audience should know about this, and we'll put some of these terms, if not here, at least in Open Business Council and Cities ABC. There's a lot of lexicon explaining these terms, but you guys are using all of this. Of course, it's the only way to thrive, and especially in a world that you mentioned, Meta, AWS, Amazon, and cloud systems. And all these companies, of course, have a huge amount of, first of all, cutting edge innovation, but as well a collaborative background. So let's start first to a direct question. How do you guys foster this level of excellence, especially when it comes to collaboration between you guys in Ukraine, in the middle of a very nasty war that doesn't make any sense, and you guys have been victims, and at the same time working with global partners, both clients, both global partners that are multinationals, and at the same time you guys are at the level of a multinational. You are a multinational in a lot of ways. So a bit how do you build at least the architecture of collaboration? And I know that you're very process driven. How do you suggest and share that with our audience?
Yes, that's a great question, and we should definitely say that a lot of our success is attributed to a right relationship with our biggest partners like Meta, Google, AWS, TikTok, Snapchat, and other companies. And they're definitely not helping us, not only in the way of providing the tools, but also helping with their expertise, with their advices, even advice is not directly tied to their tools, but also to general business processes of hiring best people, maintaining performance management. A lot of our processes, they were inspired by big companies. For example, we have a process of bar raising as a final interview stage, where the person which is independent of the team who are hiring is doing the interview and assessing the bar of that person. Will it be increasing the overall level of expertise in the team or decreasing? So this process is inspired by the Amazon hiring processes, and I think for entrepreneurs there are some processes that shouldn't be compromised, like a high bar for talent, which is one of our values. Talking about our partners, we have a long-established relationship. It's not just 1 or 2 years; it's more than 10 years, where we shown our big vision of what we are trying to build internet company from Ukraine with a global reach, how we are executing and I would say over-delivering to our expectations, because our principle is under-promise and over-deliver. And in case of working with the partners who are actually their clients, for them it's always great to work with the company which is growing faster than they said they will be growing, and being more ambitious and building more businesses. So I would say first thing is being interesting to that companies, and in being interested in it can be accessible only when you are growing faster than the market, definitely. Another point is being absolutely understandable for these companies. So if our partners do not understand what we are building, why we are doing it, and why we are seeing a potential in some markets, it will be hard for them to collect resources within their organization to help us with the expertise and so on. And on the other hand, when we are having a excellent vision, our track record within and throughout the organization, and we are showing that we want to conquer a new industry, and they are happy to help us with their expertise, with their people, with their advices. So being over-delivering and absolutely understandable for them, it helps a lot, because I would say not every person, even in a big companies, they know where is Ukraine, especially before 2022. And that was very important to establish credibility in the eyes of that people, that we are entrepreneurs, we are doing the fair business with the best practices. We are absolutely transparent. We have best private equity funds in the region with the money from IFC in our capital, Horizon Capital. So I would say it also helped a lot, and it helped with doing business and establishing the right relationship. I would say in future, we definitely want to partner with these companies, not only as a client, but also helping them work on Central and Eastern Europe market together. Like you said, you mentioned the program Startup Academy together with Meta. We are trying to also create value for our partner, looking at the thousands of startups, assessing them, choosing the best of them, who will be the fastest growing. Probably it could be a future customers for that big companies. So I would say as a summary, having a clear business, being understandable, over-delivering to your expectations, and doing the fair business to be absolutely transparent with them. These are the main pillars of our great relationship.
And for people listening to us, please, it's one of the things I always learn from the likes of you, Artem, because I think this level can make a big difference. And I think this is one of the challenges. If you look at the startup ecosystem worldwide, there's a huge amount of failure. There's a lot of hype. There's a lot of frustration, but there's a lot of innovation and a lot of collaborative approach. It's about how we do this collaboration. And even me, I struggle. Even me, with my knowledge and as well my experience, I struggle sometimes to look at these details. So really kudos to this work of emulating. And as well, one thing is I'm in London, so I'm very privileged. I'm in a peaceful element, and I have access to almost literally everything. So it's one of the things I just want to provoke a bit here, the audience, is that people sometimes take for granted things they have. just the peace. It's a big thing. You see, right now we have Ukraine, we have Israel. There's a lot of issues going on around the world. But in the end of the day, this innovation, this collaboration is very positive. And the news, of course, don't mention any of this. And channels like this try to highlight this. So I know that Genesis as a co-founding model that is very different from most of the models international. You touched a bit about this, but I would like to share this because I think this is the kind of things that I would like my audience and even me and my team to learn more, because I think this kind of experience, the way you co-found, the way you manage these different companies is really very innovative, but very very special. And for instance, I've been interviewing here from ministers to a lot of countries around the world. Everyone is struggling with these models, everyone. And especially right now with immersive, especially the emergent technology like AI, that is disrupting so much different things, these models are more important than ever. So I would like for you to share a bit this co-founding model that you guys built with Genesis and how you work with the business and entrepreneurs. And you mentioned that you actually fund and you did a different part. So some nuances of some case studies that you want to share with us, one or two companies that you want to highlight.
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, the idea of the co-founding company is having the financial resources in that company, having an expertise, experience, and dedicating these resources to building a great company with the bright entrepreneur. So it's actually the alternative to, I would say, a regular company building, but with a much higher rate of success. We have even much higher rate of success comparing to venture companies. And in our company, it's like 70% of our companies, they are becoming profitable, growing, and actually getting the results that we want from that company. So several pillars that we are providing to an entrepreneur. First of all, it's the finance. So we are financing the company to the probability level. In some way, it's several millions of dollars. In Ukraine, we are not I would say, not the country with the most capital. So we are not competing with the likes of like Uber or some companies like this with the billions. So we are choosing the industries where we can build a great company with millions or tens of millions of dollars. Second and important thing is the experience in our ecosystem. I would say collectively, we've spent tens of millions of dollars in different failures, business failures, in different, I would say, experiences, approaches, tests. And this is our collective information that we are using not to commit to the same mistakes several times. So when we are establishing the new companies, it's definitely, we have a checklist, we have a for example, one of the most important things that we are saying is hiring the strongest people. Of course, when you're a young company, it's very hard, but the most compromises on that stage, on hiring the right and the most talented people, they are bringing the failure. So it's very important to establish a very strong core team. So this experience, also working with partners, the business processes, hiring, goal setting is very, very important for the system itself. And the third important pillar is actually the services that we are providing from the head office. It's HR, recruitment, finance, legal, business development, security, IT security, help desk, education, and other departments that actually are our infrastructure and which help the entrepreneur establish the company, grow it, and actually become profitable and a large company. It's very important because if we will talk to early stage entrepreneurs in every country, at least 50% of their time will be dedicated to finance, legal, HR issues, and so on, regulatory. And we understand that if we are providing all of this from our co-founding company, we are allowing this entity and this entrepreneur to grow much faster than their counterparts that are not using co-founding model. So these three pillars, our finance, experience, and our infrastructure, are helping a lot to to establish a competitive advantage for our companies. Also, very important thing, we are in Ukraine, so as we've discussed earlier, we have an amazing tech talent inside the country, and we have educational programs which are helping to get the best young talent to our company, and we are doing it on a central level. So our companies, more than 20 companies, they have access to this level of talent that we are, through established process, getting from the market. I would say it's a pretty large competitive advantage when you are building the company, because the smaller you are, the harder the hiring is for you, the selling of the project to candidates, because you are young, nobody knows you. And if you are under the umbrella brand, it's much easier with established brand to hire and retain people. I would say even companies like Alphabet, they are in some way using that model because they have businesses and they have an infrastructure which are helping them build their businesses. I would say in terms of businesses, it's like Gmail or like Maps or something like this. They have also the head office that helps them build their businesses. So our model is in some way similar to that model. And there are a lot of companies that are not positioning themselves as a co-founding companies, but they are doing the likes of that model. So the sustainable competitive advantage is getting from infrastructure, finance, and the expertise of the company. And of course, the consulting of our young entrepreneurs by their peers who have done something already successfully and who faced that problems. Around the collaboration, as you've asked, this is one of the most important parts in Genesis. And I would say Genesis is not only the co-founding company, it's also a community of entrepreneurs, of professionals that are exchanging their experiences freely during formal or informal events, also during our educational events and so on. So I would say this atmosphere of not being aggressive to the other entrepreneurs is very important. So we have a very helpful atmosphere in which the people it's really the high chances of success in that system.
So that's really that's fantastic the way you take it, and I think this in itself needs probably a series of videos, because I think there's not enough on this. There's a couple of course startup podcasts and startup education that touches this, but this is actually still a big problem. I was talking recently with one of the biggest economies in the world, and actually some people in the governments and organizations that they're struggling with this kind of basic stuff. So this brings me to one question related with how do you keep up with and you maintain and foster the level of excellency in terms of innovation, and as well how you guys are dealing right now when it comes to AI, cybersecurity, and metaverse in general. I know that Ukraine was one of the first countries to have a huge focus on cybersecurity. Actually, I went there to speak in an event of cybersecurity, which was actually one of the biggest in the world at the time. But you guys are having to work with a lot of levels, extra levels, special of cybersecurity. Bear in mind that you are in a very sensitive war with a country that is quite tricky on that direction as well. And as well, you have a huge component of innovation. So AI right now is disrupting any model. And then you mentioned Google Maps and different things, but at the moment we're creating immersive 3D experience. We actually in the channel, we've been talking a lot about metaverse, not just metaverse in the sense of selling fictional Earth, but as well metaverse in the sense of spatial computing, digital twins. So there's a huge amount of innovation on these areas. So how do you cope with all this arsenal of emergent technologies, and how you push things forward to take it to the next level? Because I think that's the key element as well in technology.
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, we are not building right now AI businesses, but we are definitely using AI progress. Some of our businesses, they are content driven. So it's very important for example, app to have a decent amount of content, which will make this app attractive to every person. For example, if you're talking about health and fitness, they need to have a lot of trainings. If you're talking about book summaries, they need to have a lot of book summaries. If you're talking about any other things, they need to have a content and have a strong base. And in that sense, AI helps us a lot, and ChatGPT is helping a lot with improving our business processes of creating that content, of controlling the people who are making this content, and to exchange the, I would say, ideas and practices, because in that AI models, in that models with the use of ChatGPT and different other tools, you can put some different rules, and that will help the whole system of content creators work more efficiently with a set of rules, with a set of templates, and so on and so on. So I would say in some companies, especially in companies using and creating media that we also have in our portfolio, it's definitely the driver of value creation and the driver of profitability. If talking about challenges of our company by itself and technological challenges, they're coming from being very fast. And for example, from MVP stage, where you need to build very fast, to a stage of mature established company where you have another priorities in your technical side, it can be just a couple of years. So completing that transition very fast from fast development to a reliable and scalable development, for us it's and I think for every company is very challenging, because the requirements, they change throughout the time, and they can change very, very fast. And especially with these tools, with different industries like AI, it in some way helps, and in some way there are a lot of companies that are doing that more efficiently. And it's very inspiring to see other companies building business processes from scratch in AI versus evolving the traditional business processes to AI. So I think that companies that are being built right now, who are AI first and building these processes from scratch in AI already, they have a great opportunity to disrupt some markets and to be more efficient, and therefore have a sustainable moat around them. Talking about the cases of our companies, for example, we can remember the case of the company named Plant-In, which is one of the biggest plant identification and plant care apps in the world. It was built by Dmitro and Mikhailo Grinets. They are brothers, and they actually had an idea. Mikhailo was working in Genesis, and they proposed that idea to the top management. And the company decided that this idea is very valuable, and we really want to build the company. And this is an excellent case, because the people had an very internal passion to that topic, to actually plant care. And it allowed them to understand the industry very well. And this is actually the case where both founders were very technical, and they are technical, and they are using a lot of AI related technology in their work, because the app needs to identify the plant by one photo in a very fast fashion, like in a milliseconds. So having the base of all of the different plants and being able to quickly recognize them and have an advice list on how to care for them, they are very important to employ the best technologies. I would say it's like Vivino, but for plants. So this is one of the remarkable cases of entrepreneurship passion, which was combined with our confounding company abilities. And I'm pretty sure that it will be the biggest company in plant care application industry, and one of the leaders in the industry already, and the future leader definitely.
No, that's impressive, and I like these case studies, because normally it's where we find the best understanding each one of us that is interacting here or listening to us can actually find the best ways. I know that I'm passing the time, so I want to be respectful of your time, but I still have a couple of questions if it's okay for you.
Definitely.
when it comes to, so you guys have, like you mentioned, a huge network of companies around the world. And of course, right now, the geopolitics are becoming increasingly more difficult because you have the Western world, we have the Eastern Europe world, and where you guys are right now in the I would say in the epicenter of all the challenge. Then we have Middle East, Africa, and Asia, where there's a lot of different velocities when it comes to technology, a lot of ways of using even I would say methodologies, how you deal with people, how you deal with teams. And so first question I have, or the question I'm trying here, if you want to share with us, of course, is, so as a company that deals with outstanding entrepreneurs, and you mentioned the fact that you guys invest and or part of your company invests and creates the ecosystem, like you mentioned, at the community, which is key. But what would be the qualities that you think are more important for potential partners, and as well the strategies that you use to employ and ensure a continual, sustainable, and impactful presence? Because that's the biggest challenge. Is, okay, you can get a big success, but most of the people get a big success and then they stop the innovation and they paralyze, or they stay in this innovation and then suddenly their business can melt down because of something went wrong with that big success.
Mm-hmm. First of all, the question about the potential partners. In most cases, we are partnering with the entrepreneurs who were earlier the employees of the company and who already have a successful track record of getting things done, building some processes, some parts of the company. So for us, it's the first of all the flow of people, and second, it's the risk mitigation, because partnering with the person who don't know in details, it's always a risk. So first of all, most of these people, they were I would say raised as professional inside the Genesis, and that allow us to understand fully the candidate, his integrity, his strong sides, his weak sides. And it's totally okay, because if we understand the weak sides, then definitely we could bring co-founders to that company who could cover these weak sides with their advantages. I would say, talking about the impactful presence, for us, it's very important the educational part of our company, because it's not only the internal education, it's also external education, which gives us a stable and quality flow of talents, of young talents to our company. And it's not only for hiring for us, it's, I would say, market development initiative, where we are telling about product IT on the earlier stages of education of people. For example, on the first course, on the second course in university, they already know that there is an industry, IT product companies. The Genesis is the prominent player in that field, and they're thinking about their career. So I would say our business is not only about IT product, but also in a large part about people. So for us, a sustainable way of doing business is a sustainable flow of top talent to our company. And in that way, we have also a very high-performing culture. So we are positioning the company as like snow slide. It's very hard to climb, but it's very easy to fall from the top. So people really need to perform at the excellent level, because we are competing globally with the companies from America who have a nearly unlimited budget, with the companies from China who have a very, I would say, harsh work ethics and culture. So it's very hard to compete with all of the world-class companies. So establishing and maintaining the high performance culture is very, very important for us. Also, one of the things that that I want to mention is, and we already mentioned, is working with the partners, because no company could be successful without the ecosystem of like partners that are supporting the company. For example, for us, it's Meta, it's Google, it's AWS, it's TikTok, Snapchat, other partners who are helping us to stay on the top of their tools, of the trends in the industries. They're inviting us for the conferences, for the meetings, and it also helps to have a strong competitive advantage related to market and to employ that competitive advantage to our businesses. So I would say these points of hiring the best talent and having the stable flow through our educational events, maintaining the high performance culture, working with the world-class partners, these are key elements of our sustainable value creation in the future.
And a lot of things here that are important to keep. So as we're wrapping up the interview, I still have two more questions, if it's okay for you. So the first one is, so when of course, Ukraine is in a very sensitive situation that I hope will finish in the next couple of months. So fingers crossed for you guys and for everyone in the world, because it affects everyone. But looking ahead, and especially bear in mind that you guys are in the middle of the storm, but at the same time thriving, what's the plan to continue this narrative, and as well, what kind of projects do you want to share with us in terms of the focus of the leading that you'll think will maintain the leadership of your company, especially because, of course, when it comes to apps, there's a lot of shift right now from code, no code, and we could go more technical, but I don't want to go too much technical on this level. But what is the focus on the 3,000 employees, on the 3,000 as well people that have visions within the company, and how are you right now trying to see the vision for the future, and as well looking at what you achieved so far?
So our global vision is in 5 to 7 years to being able and to take 2-3 companies of our portfolio public. We are expecting to be number one IT product company in our country, employing more than 20,000 people. And that's totally reachable to be a global company on that scale. To do it, we definitely need to launch new projects, to grow our current projects, and to being able to have a stable flow of new people to the company who could be employees, top managers, co-founders, and so on and so on. So talking about the whole industry, definitely war is not helping to develop that industry. So we are helping and hoping for the win, and it's definitely will be the huge boost for all of us and the business, because it will make us safer, because a decent amount of time of our top managers, we are focused on the security things, business continuity plans, and all of that stuff that is related to war a lot. So I would say continue to work with the top entrepreneurs, continue to widen our moat together with our partners and our excellent infrastructure, and maintaining the high performance culture, because it's the only thing where we could be better than companies from America, China, and Europe.
Great vision and great focus. So last question, and then of course you can just give us some links that you can highlight. So you are a professor of, like I mentioned before, in the Kyiv School of Economics. So you keep your academic and the business as well in the leadership of a company, and you guys have a huge focus on education. So we mentioned about the Startup Academy, but you have as well a program with 9,000 students enroll each year with programs created with generous educational programs and partnerships. Tell us about that, because it's, first of all, kudos to that 9,000 students. That's a fantastic, you change 9,000 lives, and definitely this opens a lot of opportunities. But you can tell us about these educational partnerships. How do you deal, and how people listen and imagine some people's universities can engage with you guys as well and eventually get part of this?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I really like to talk about education. I'm guest lecturer in KSE, so right now not already the professor, not yet. I would say our key directions of Genesis education is, first of all, the internal education which is the educational programs for our employees. They could be some of them for domain experts like product managers, developers, and so on. Some of them for managerial experience and managerial skills, like leadership intensive, other programs for a first time or not a first time managers. A second big part is our external education program, where we are creating the exclusive courses, getting the applications for each of our schools. We are getting 3,000 to 4,000 applications, choosing 30, 40 best suited for us students. It's like IT school, for example, our flagship product, and we are conducting the series of lectures, a series of assignments, group assignments. We are assessing the people. For some of them, we are proposing to work with us, for actually the most of them. And for other people, the other companies, they are more than happy for them to propose a place in their companies. We also have a program with the Ministry of Digital Transformation and our partners from Horizon Capital and KSE. It's called All Ukrainian Educational Courses. These are the scalable educational courses which are already in place in more than 100 universities throughout all the Ukraine. They're totally free. This is basically the content we have created, and this is pre-recorded. It's the bite-sized educational program, and it could be used in every university in Ukraine. These are programs around product IT, actually entrepreneurship, building products, managing products, marketing, analytics, and so on. So people, even in the smallest cities in Ukraine, even frontline cities, they have ability to learn the content from the top managers and top employees in our company. And I think this is one of the most impactful projects in our educational department. So we have a great ambition that throughout these programs, in future, we'll have more than 50,000 people a year completing these programs. And definitely, even if it will be for 1 or 2% of these people, it will be life-changing. It's already 1,000 people a year, and that's quite a lot. And it's not only charity for us, it's like the market development initiative. These people will learn earlier about the product IT, about our company, will be more interested in pursuing career in our industry. And definitely it will be helpful for us and even for our competitors, for peer companies in that market.
Well, fantastic, and congratulations. That's quite an impressive achievement on that. And I think for people listening to us, I would just highlight, I want to be respectful of your time. I have a lot of more questions, but I think there's a lot of food for thought here. So one last thing, can you tell us where people can find information about you guys? I know that you have your websites, there's a lot of thought leadership, you have things in multiple languages. So probably in English for our audience, and we'll put all the links, but coming from you is always better.
I will put some links on the description to our blog, to our corporate website, maybe some interviews in Ukrainian media about us and about the company and what is our business about, and of course about our educational initiatives.
Fantastic.
Most of our interviews there in Ukrainian media, so it will take some time to find our English language materials.
No, fantastic, because you guys have definitely a space in the world with all the different things that you guys are doing, and I have a couple of ideas that I'll share, because definitely there's a lot of great initiatives there. Congratulations, it's been an honor, and definitely I will come back probably for I would say a take two and going more in details on these programs and tools we discussed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I was really honored to be invited, and it was a great pleasure to talk to you, to think together about some initiatives of ours and about the market itself.
Thank you so much.